In the Quebec tax return, the Quebec government offers a refundable tax credit for the caregiver amount. There are two components to this caregiver amount. Component number one are dependents 18 and over with a disability, and component number two are dependents 70 and over with no disability or infirmity. In this video, we will see how to claim these two components of natural caregiver credit within UFile. As a first step, you must indicate the dwelling information on the relevant schedule, which is Schedule H. This is done in the Caregiver's file. Within the Caregiver's file, go to the Quebec Tax Credits section. On the page to the right, click the plus sign next to Schedule H dwelling information for the tax credit for caregiver. Answer the questions appropriately by indicating who is the owner, lessee, or subleasee of the dwelling. Click Next at the bottom of the page. In order to claim either component of the caregiver amount, you need to create a file for the dependent that's linked to the caregiver. To find out how to create a dependent file, go to the YouTube video on that topic. We will start with the first component, 18 and over with a disability. For that particular component, go into the dependents file and then click on the medical and disability section on the left-hand menu. On the page to the right, you must indicate the disability for that dependent. Click on the plus sign next to infirmity and disability amounts for the dependent. Enter a description of the disability of the dependent and then answer the relevant questions on the disability tax credit for either federal and Quebec. For the Quebec section, make sure to indicate that you are claiming the disability amount. In order to claim the first component, you must show that there is a need for daily assistance to perform daily activities for that dependent. Click on the drop-down menu and indicate that the dependent needs daily assistance and whether this dependent is living with a caregiver or not. Click Next at the bottom of the page. Now you must indicate the period that the care was provided by the caregiver. Staying within the dependent's file, go back to the medical and disability section, and on the page to the right, click on the plus sign next to Canada Caregiver Amount Claim for this dependent, Quebec Schedule H, eligibility and dates of qualifying period. In the Quebec section, input the period in which the care was provided. The period can start 2 years back as of 2019. If the qualifying period ends before July 2nd of the following year, indicate it. Click Next at the bottom of the page. Continuing with the first component, if the dependent is an individual that has no family ties with the caregiver, which is a new eligible type of dependent for the first component of the caregiver amount, then there is no need to create a file for that dependent. In order to claim this other dependent, remember that a specific form, the TP 1029.8N.A, has to be signed and certified by a medical practitioner that care is being given on a daily basis to that type of dependent. To claim this other dependent within UFile, go back to the Quebec tax credit section within the caregiver's file and click the plus sign next to the section Schedule H, Add Care Receiver with no family relationship. Enter this other dependent's basic information accordingly. For the second component of the caregiver tax credit, dependent 70 and over with no disability and no infirmity, you need to add this individual as a dependent in the caregiver's file. The same first step applies as the first component. Within the caregiver's file, go to the Quebec tax credits and add the dwelling information. Next, go into the dependent's file that's linked to the caregiver's file, and within the dependent's file, go to the section Medical and Disability on the left-hand menu. On the page to the right, click on the plus sign next to the option Quebec Schedule H, Eligibility and Dates of Qualifying Period for this dependent. In the Quebec section, enter the qualifying period, which can start in 2019. If the qualifying period ends before July 2nd of the following year, indicate it. Click Next at the bottom of the page. Unlike the first component, there is no need or requirement for a disability to claim this dependent. The only criteria is that the dependent is a direct ascendant to the caregiver and that the age of this dependent is 70 and over. Thank you for choosing UFile.